Tish James is currently trying to fundraise off what she's calling baseless allegations. This is Miss No One's Above the Law, right? While taxpayers are footing her legal bills. We talked to New Yorkers today about all this.
I think she's doing a great job. I think they tried to search to find something, they go through all the paperwork.
This is exactly what she did to Trump, though. I mean, she went and manufactured...
it's not the same.
It's a political assassination by our president. Okay, he's a criminal.
This is the Attorney General of New York, and they find out that she's playing the same game, essentially the same game, that she manufactured a crime against the president.
Yeah, I think we should put her in jail.
I feel like what's being said about her is absolutely true.
Well, I think it's terrible because it's double standard, and she shouldn't have done that. So if that's true, she did a terrible thing.
We all do fraud when we buy a home. There's always a con going on when you buy real estate, no matter where you are.
Is Tish James above the law?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a pretty clear-cut case here.
I'm not surprised that people investigating Trump are catching charges.
Let her pay for her crime now.
The victim, the victim of the crime was a bank that defended him in court.
He's a criminal, and I can't wait to see him go down.
If she did something wrong, then obviously she should be held accountable for it.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure that you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today, we're headed back to our favorite place, New York, to speak about who our favorite person, Letitia James, aka Big Tish, aka Big Tush, the Queen of New York, at least until that federal indictment comes down. Yes, Miss No One is above the law except for me herself, Big Tush. We have to speak about Big Tush again because it appears that Senate GOPers are pushing back heavy on putting an end to that $10 million slush fund that was carved out for Big Tush in the New York State annual budget. For those of you who don't know, or in case you forgot, Kathy Hochul and the gang, the DNC lunatics that are running the state of New York, when drafting up the annual budget for New York, decided to cut out a little piece of that budget, $10 million, to help Big Tush out and to make sure that she has the money that she needs to cover her legal bills. But this is something that is completely ridiculous and absurd, because why in the world should the citizens of New York have to cover Big Tush's legal bills? Why? All of the alleged mortgage fraud that she's dealing with that will quite possibly, fingers crossed, lead to a federal indictment, this is her own personal issue. None of this stuff has to do with any type of official business as it pertains to her job as AG. This is personal fraud, allegedly. I assume, right? This is personal fraud. This is foolishness that she engaged in and got into on her own time as a sovereign individual, independent from her job as AG. So why in the world would the people of New York be footing the bill for that? $10 million at that as well. That is completely ridiculous and it's completely crooked. But then again, we are talking about the DNC, those who like to point their fingers at others to distract from what they themselves are doing, right? All these people, corruption is what they do best. So let's jump into this article right here. I didn't get a chance to read it yet. Most times I do these videos, I like to read the articles first beforehand, but let's go through it. It looks relatively short and we'll unpack this together. So the article reads, as far as the headline is concerned, Senate GOPers push back on $10 million taxpayer-funded Tish James slush fund that could pay her legal bills. And oh yeah, what we're going to get into next after this, for those of you who didn't know, Big Tush is now begging for $25 donations, I believe via text message, if I'm not mistaken. This woman is greedy, desperate, and selfish. But we'll get to that after this article. Let's get into this one first. Irate state Republicans want to bottle up a sneaky $10 million slush fund that could be used to pay Attorney General Letitia James legal bills as she faces a criminal probe. Not a penny should be spent from the controversial fund that Democrats slipped into New York's 2026 budget. State Senate Republicans urged Comptroller Thomas DiNapoli in a letter obtained by the Post. Certain New York officials can tap into the fund to pay for legal expenses, even as part of probes not related to their state employment, a provision widely seen as giving James a path to pay for her legal defense during U.S. Justice Department probes into her alleged fraudulent real estate dealings. Now, the article continues to read as we scroll down. The letter avoids mentioning James by name, but parrots the Democrats' own words from when she launched her ultimately successful civil prosecution of President Trump. And I quote, as someone once said, no one is above the law. The letter signed by Senate GOP Minority Leader Robert Ort and 21 other Republican states. The proposed use of public money is a gross misuse of taxpayer dollars. It undermines public trust in government and sends a troubling message that elected officials and state employees are entitled to a publicly funded legal defense, even for matters entirely disconnected from their public responsibilities. DiNapoli, as state comptroller, would have to sign off on drawing down the $10 million to reimburse the legal costs of James or other state employees, a move that Senate Republicans implored him not to carry out. I don't know how the people of New York would be able to continue to vote for these DNC lunatics if this is actually passed. But then again, I mean, they are lunatics, right? Suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. So I guess, these lawmakers can do no wrong. Because if I'm not mistaken, the comptroller is a Democrat, if I remember correctly. That guy's a Democrat. And if I remember correctly, also, the state comptroller in New York is running for mayor as well. So this isn't going to go. I would think that this wouldn't go well for him in his race for mayor. And to be honest, he doesn't have he's not going to win. You know what I mean? He doesn't really stand a chance overall anyways. It looks like Cuomo was probably going to run away with it, when the election happens. But nonetheless, I don't see how you can pass something like this in good faith. This is corruption at its highest to sign off on that $10 million. It really is. It's corruption at its highest and at its most finest point. To take $10 million out of the state budget and say, hey, here, we're going to give it to Big Tish to cover her legal bills. Just out the blue, out of nowhere, just like that. They're going to just take the money out and give it to her. But then again, once again, like I always say, we are talking about DNC lunatics. And they have consistently proven themselves to be the very ones that they pretend to be fighting against. They are the dictators. They are the tyrants. They are the corrupt politicians that they pretend to be protecting us from. They're projecting when they do this. They're always talking about themselves. But let's carry on with the article. The missive comes as James braces for a potentially bruising legal fight with Trump's DOJ. The FBI and U.S. Attorney's Office in Albany are investigating accusations that James falsified records to get favorable loans on a Virginia home she bought in 2023 and a Brooklyn brownstone she has owned since 2001. The U.S. Attorney for the Northern District, led by Trump ally John Scrone III, is overseeing the James probe, resulting from a criminal referral from Federal Housing Finance Agency Director William Polt to the DOJ last month. James and her high-powered attorney, Abbe David Lowell, have argued the mortgage fraud allegations are a meritless assault in a post-election revenge tour by Trump, who's still stewing over the $454 million civil fraud judgment that the Attorney General won against him and his real estate firm. Lowell, who was one of Hunter Biden's top lawyers, was retained by the Attorney General's office rather than James in her personal capacity. So they're already using taxpayer dollars for this. They're just trying to cut out an extra 10 million, if we're being honest. And as we obviously just read here, right? But let me backtrack a little bit and start that over again. Lowell, who was one of Hunter Biden's top lawyers, was retained by the Attorney General's office rather than James in her personal capacity, which means New York taxpayers will eventually foot the bill for his services. This is so wrong and corrupt. James plans to rely on both state funds and private legal defense fund to fight the battle, a spokesman for the AG's office confirmed last week. The fund, okayed by Albany Democrats, would cover any reasonable attorney fees and expenses incurred by state employees facing discriminatory and retaliatory treatment by the federal government after Trump was set to return to office for a second term. A spokesperson for DiNapoli confirmed receiving the letter urging him to reject payouts from the fund, but had no further comment. So we'll see what happens with this. Hopefully, the state comptroller, DiNapoli, will do the right thing, right? And not sign off on this. That's yet to be seen. I do believe for him, it will be political suicide if he does do it. He's definitely not going to get reelected as comptroller again. I don't think the people will appreciate that, but they will continue to vote Democrat. They just probably won't vote for him anymore, most likely. But with all that being said, let's transfer now over to here, because while that $10 million isn't 100% secured yet, in the meantime and in between time, Big Tush is begging for $25 donations on top of the potential $10 million that she may be getting that hopefully GOPers, as the article read, will have put a stop to. But just in case the Republicans do put a stop to it, her backup plan is you giving her $25. Okay, so let's get into this right now. This is ridiculous. This woman is so greedy, selfish, and just without shame. Letitia James wants your $25 while sitting on a $10 million taxpayer defense fund. This is completely ridiculous. While New York Attorney General Letitia James aggressively solicits $25 donations to fight Trump's dangerous agenda, she's quietly secured something far more valuable, $10 million of taxpayer dollars to fund her personal legal defense. That's still technically yet to be seen because, like we just read, it has to be signed off on by the comptroller. Now, check this out here. Last Thursday's text, send $25 now. Just days ago, on May 9th, 2025, James's campaign team blasted out an urgent fundraising text message. And I quote, "Just yesterday, Trump attacked me on live TV in the Oval Office. This is a coordinated effort. Can you rush a $25 donation or more right now to help me defend the rule of law?" This is so pathetic. Obviously, when she said Trump didn't attack her, he told the truth about her when he was asked a question concerning the potential federal indictment that will most likely be coming down on Letitia James. He didn't speak on it much. He just deferred to Pam Bondi. But when he did speak, he just told the truth and said that Letitia James is a corrupt person, one of the most corrupt people that he knows and that he's ever seen in his life. And based off all the information that we've received and have read off about her, that is true. Everything that we've seen from her and that we've read about her dealings, she's clearly corrupt. And that's what this is in reference to.
I can say unrelated to that, she's a disaster for New York. She's a horrible, horrible human being. And I think she's a total crook. There's no question about it. But that's just my opinion. Pam's going to have to do what she wants. She's a very bad person. She's a very, very bad person who campaigned solely on, I'm going to get Donald Trump over and over again. She's a sick person. But that has nothing to do with what Pam does. Pam is going to do what's right. She always does. I've known her a long time.
And it just goes to show how much of a sleaze bag that she is. That the moment that Trump actually spoke on her, because we haven't heard Trump say anything about her really since, the end of the case, right? That phony fraud case that she put on him in New York. After that, he hasn't really talked about her. But the moment her name was brought up and Trump spoke on her for just a couple of seconds, like that, she quickly put out text messages saying, can you rush me a $25 donation or more right now She had the audacity of her. She said, "Can you rush me a $25 donation or more right now?" It literally says right now to help me defend the rule of law. That is so unbelievably arrogant. But that's how they operate. They truly operate as if they're above the law, above the fray, and that you are just the peasants who have to pay her way. So yeah, run me $25 immediately. The article continues to read, the urgency was clear, but so was the omission. No mention that taxpayers have already committed $10 million to her legal defense. Yeah, definitely left that out. It definitely left that part out of the text message. Please send me $25 or more right now, but never mind the fact that the DNC lunatics that are running the state of New York already have $10 million set aside for me. I just need a state comptroller to sign off on it, and the money's all mine. Don't worry about that. Just give me your hard-earned money now. Look at how entitled they feel to your money. They steal your tax dollars and then have the audacity to circle back around with a text message to ask you for even more of your hard-earned money. Meanwhile, you're the one out here struggling day after day after day, trying to make ends meet, just trying to get by. These people are truly wicked, to say the very least. And corrupt is an understatement. And with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for today's news. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video out on your social media platforms. And also do not forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. Until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.